to be responsive, right?
Which one?
The last one.
Yeah, I don't recall anything in the assignment description.
It says like it doesn't need to be responsive, like in the assignment.
Then it doesn't need to be responsive.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Bootstrap. Bootstrap is responsive.
Yeah. Well,
I use Bootstrap on like everything, like sometimes because the image, the size of the image
Mhm.
is different. So I use everything Bootstrap, and then everything was responsive. But the problem was that like the images, like some of them were like long. I don't know how to fix it. So I use the like regular classes, which is not responsive now.
It is possible to use Bootstrap in a way that like doesn't make it responsive, right? It's really like the breakpoints when you adjust width. That's what constitutes responsiveness. It's possible to use Bootstrap just to like modify padding and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to write CSS rules for the images to get them to look nice, but
Yeah.
But mine,
the criteria kind of just says like
Yeah.
CSS must validate, which is like, I interpreted it as like bare bones.
I use
Yeah.
Bootstrap, but when I try to change the size of the image through CSS, like it's overridden. I don't know what happens, so I just I go for regular classes. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I mean,
the specificity stuff we talked about, Robert, the specificity, I can't pronounce that word.
yeah.
And the calculated style stuff that you were,
Yeah.
yeah, I ran into that too. You'll get it though, I feel like you're bright.
Anything else anybody wants to say about the final assignment before we do a little review? Should be, today's the deadline, so hopefully you guys, I see I've gotten quite a few submissions for it, so it seems like people are kind of, knocking it off
Yeah.
reasonably well.
I have one question. In the actual assignment content, nowhere does it say you must include credentials, but I remember you saying in class that it's important to have that like credentials included.
Yes.
And so like I'm going to remember that for the final, but I guess that wasn't obvious, right? But it should be implied, like even though it wasn't specified. Like, so explicitly in the the assignment.
My position is that the assignments need a complete rewrite anyways. It is set in the course notes.
Yeah, it kind of always includes that.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, so credentials include is doing a very specific thing, right? The reason that it's necessary is that both the PHP script you're trying to access and your own, the problem is that you're in private directories on the server, right? In order to get anything out of a private directory on the server, you have to include login credentials to the server. We haven't really gotten into it very much because we haven't done server-side programming yet. But an interesting thing about HTTP communication is that it is stateless, right? When the server receives a packet, it has absolutely no idea where that packet came from or who sent it. It's not, this is not completely true. For example, like cookies, you can set things up so that that's not the case, but like the mental model you should start with is the server is receiving packets essentially from anonymous sources, right? So if you're receiving a packet from an anonymous source, you have no idea, unless you've set up sessions and session handling, which we don't yet. Unless you've got a session, you have no idea that that packet came from someone who has the correct login credentials. So the browser caches your credentials when because if you access your assignment, it's like enter your username and password, right? Your browser caches those credentials, and then anytime you fire an AJAX request off, saying credentials include will automatically send those credentials you've entered to the server, so the server knows you have access rights to the thing you're trying to get. Otherwise, you'll end up with a 403 error or something similar. You guys know what 403 is?
Permission denied?
Yes, forbidden. You do not have proper access privileges to access the thing you're trying to access. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the reason for credentials include. It's only really a problem on these antiquated old CS Unix, or these old Apache servers. It's really like where this comes into the fore. The more modern way to handle these types of things would be session management. But we can't do session management because we haven't done server-side programming yet, right? So this is kind of our intermediate phase before we, we step you into it before we sort of show you how things get handled on the server side. Like, to have a complete view of a web application, you really need to have both the client side and the server side in mind if you're attempting to be a full stack developer, which is what this program is intending to make of you, is a full stack developer. All right, sound good? Make sense? So it does say that in the course notes about credentials include.
Yeah.
It doesn't say it in the assignment document, but
Yeah, those are like new concepts, I guess. Some things were not
Yeah.
obvious to me, but yeah, that's good to know.
Slightly unrelated, but for Java, and I guess for JavaScript as well, do you want only the submission to be in the .txt files?
yes, please.
So no zip file at all?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
Yes, the files zip is just like one extra step for me, which, I don't need because I know how to do bulk downloads of your submissions, so I don't need them zipped up so that I don't have to download each one individually. So, yes. Any other questions? Okay. So once again, assignments, all the assignments are due today. Please have them in by midnight. If you can't get them in by midnight, early tomorrow morning at the very earliest, or at the very latest, please, pardon me, earliest. I am intending to do some grading over the weekend because, it's that time of year. So,
So tomorrow morning you can submit it?
well, when I say tomorrow morning, I mean like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think it will be available. After today, it will be not available, I guess.
I don't know about the Dropbox eligibility, but yeah. Let's just say by the time I sit down to my computer tomorrow morning, I want all of my submissions. So, okay. Well, so we've got some review problems we can do. Last week we did our big fat review of all of the topics for this course. So, if you take a look, down the list, ooh, interesting. The one that I thought was here isn't. I might take a moment to just throw that up then. Yeah. Most humble apologies. Oh man. I thought I had uploaded the document, but I haven't.
What's it called?
Well, there is one there, review winter 2023.
Yeah.
How about this? You guys start working on those review problems. I'll just nip off to my office and grab my laptop so that I can upload the document that I want to give to you. I thought I already had. So get to work on those. We'll review the ones that you get through when I get back. I think we'll have time for both. And then I will get that other test up for you, the review questions. I'll be back. Oh, might as well. Why would I run the video through that? Fortunately, we're still on the first question. Yeah. So we're talking about content delivery networks, advantages and disadvantages. So one disadvantage, which you may or may not have known about with content delivery networks, security, right? Content delivery networks are more vulnerable to man-in-the-middle attacks than your server is. Like, think about it this way, right? Imagine yourself in the position of a hacker. If you've got a node in a content delivery network, it is issuing JavaScript that is just being run unquestioningly on a whole bunch of people's computers. It makes it a very juicy target, right? Whereas, if you are issuing your own JavaScript, first of all, you can do that in the same do that in the same TLS session, right? So you don't have multiple TLS sections that might be cracked, right? But like, it decentralizes it, and because it's decentralized, there's not like one big network node, which is a great big nice target for a hacker to go after, right? Does that make sense? So that's one disadvantage of a CDN. Disadvantage of the server, you could say, like, well, you have to install it, right? But yeah, I think we've said enough about this question. Yeah? You guys get the idea? Good. I like that as a review question too, because it's like, you know. All right. Next question. Given the following HTML code, provide bootstrap classes so that the three inner divs occupy 1/4, 7/12, and 1/6 of the width of the page, looking from left to right. Also make it so that the columns snap to a stacked configuration at any screen width less than 769 pixels, which is Bootstrap's medium breakpoint. So if you take a look, basically, give me the Bootstrap classes that perform those behaviors. Question?
Sorry, back on that first question, what's the advantage of serverless solutions on JForms?
Well, I mean, you can always negate all of the disadvantages that we talked about from the CDN. But one advantage, one pure advantage of putting it on your own this is kind of not necessarily a good practice, but it's something that you can do. If you want to keep a backdated version of Bootstrap so you don't have to update your website, you can do that with a server. Right? If you're being forced to update, if updates are being forced on you, then it's possible that like Bootstrap pushes an update that breaks everything and you have to go fix it. People are much better about this these days, but it still does happen, you know? Yeah. Destiny control. Destiny control is the answer to why it's advantageous to do things on your own server. So, I'll give you guys a minute or two to fill in those Bootstrap classes. And, yeah. brought it up on the bigger screen. Keep having to go like, oh, the poor old man eyes. One of the things I'm very proud of with my exam formatting is that you get syntax highlighting and line numbers on code blocks. You know, it's like, try to do that in Word.
What do you use for creating this then?
LaTeX.
Oh, okay, yeah, you've spoken about that before, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Are we, have we got that down then? All good? So, first, what's that first class?
Container?
Container. Container.
Floyd? Dude?
MD.
Or MB? Oh.
Yeah. So I believe you've got like two options. You can either specify the container as MD, or you can do each individual column as MD. I think those both do the same thing, but I could be wrong about that. Should test it before I say things like that. Anyway, so what about 2? What's 2?
Roll?
Yes, 2 is row. How about 3?
Call 3?
Next.
Call 7?
Next.
Call 2?
As a matter of fact, sure, you can put that in there. But because of the way that Bootstrap works, you can actually leave off any one of these, right? Because it'll be calculated from the space left by the other ones. So you can just leave it like that. That's also an acceptable solution. Make sense? Very good. I don't think there's really much more to be said about this one. Yes?
Wouldn't it matter if it was like 11 or 12 or 13? Like, wouldn't that fit one? Like, would you have to specify how big it is?
No, the Bootstrap grid system always has 12 columns.
Oh,
Yeah. And which is kind of implicitly what's being tested in this question is, do you remember that the Bootstrap grid system always has 12 columns? Yeah. Although I suppose if you put the numbers out, you know. Well, actually, you need to know that in order to calculate these numbers in the first place, actually. But, all right. All good? Sound good? All cool? Very good. Question 3. Complete the following SVG elements path attribute D to reproduce the given image. The starting point for this path is the circle at the top of the diagram. So, draw an SVG path. I'll give you guys a minute or two to work that one out. If I may be permitted just a small degree of meta commentary about the exam. When it comes to testing you on SVG graphics, I like questions that include pictures like this one, right? It's like, well, you know, it's just, you know, they say a picture tells 1,000 words, right? Okay, I'll give you one more piece of information about the exam. When a diagram appears on the exam, and I will guarantee that there is at least one, I know that in like regular SVG, the way that it works is like the top left corner is 0, 0, but like on the internet I found like a grid overlay which places 0, 0 at the center of the axes,
Yeah.
you know? So that's the one I went with, so your SVGs will have negative numbers. This is actually a thing that SVG can do as well. You can like adjust the axes using, you know, you can adjust the viewport to get this effect, but you know, just, you know, the numbers when we do it on the exam will be in like regular Cartesian form with like -1, -2, -3, 1, 2, 3. This is under the theory that like the grid system that you're using doesn't actually have a, like doing it here versus doing it there, you should be fine because SVG works the same way in both. You're just like doing coordinates slightly differently. You should be able to, you know, you should be able to do that. Yes?
Would negative not be above the x-axis then? Because on this it's positive by positive.
No! The axis is also inverted.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Again, just use regular Cartesian numbers. There you go. So don't be thrown for a loop. This is the coordinate system you'll be using on the exam, which I'm confident that everybody's seen this one before. So
Like not the one that we had before for SVG,
yeah, this is like the way that SVG actually works.
but we have to use this one?
Yeah.
In the exam?
Yeah.
Easy now.
But it's, you know, it's just Cartesian coordinates, you
Yeah.
know. So
I feel like that was part of the tricky for me.
see, this is why I'm telling you ahead of time, because that's not intended to be part of the trick, right? But like, you know, tell me the location of this dot.
8, 6,
Tell me the location of this dot.
3, 2.
Okay, everybody can do both.
But until now we learned that, and then we have to switch to the other one.
Surely you're not so completely invested in the idea that the top left corner is 0, 0 and that the y-axis is inverted that you can't do regular math as you've done all the way through grade school for a test. That is my position.
Actually, I'm a math tutor, so.
Yes, well there you go. So I don't want to hear any more complaints. I don't want to hear any more complaints about my coordinate system, okay?
But if something.
If I'd have found an overlay for this, like I couldn't be bothered to make one basically, and if I had found one, I would have used this, but you know.
But if someone is.
This one's a little easier to read as well. Hmm?
Yeah, if something is in the lower part, so that will be negative.
Yeah.
So that will be, I guess, not like seamless.
I mean, are you scared by the minus sign? Does it keep you up at night? Does it give you nightmares? And it is actually true in SVG that like, if you can use negative values, they just put things like in these quadrants, right, that are not normally shown. But you can use viewport modification to like move the viewport so that negative values are shown on screen. You know, it's just like, you know. Anyway, shall we do this problem? Have we talked too much about coordinates? I feel like we've talked too much about coordinate systems at this point. It's not like I'm asking you to translate between like rectangular and polar coordinates or something, okay? You guys know what polar coordinates are? It's like a coordinate system where the graph is like a series of concentric circles, and like points are determined on radius and angle, right? Converting to and from that, you know, again, I feel like every one of you should, anyone who's done high school trigonometry should be able to do that, but, you know, that might be a little much. Man, I was teaching a class at the university, and it was in C programming, and the first question on the test was called, because at the university I used to title the questions, it was called A Piece of Cake, and like part A was write a function that calculates the area of a circle in C, and out of a class of 120 students, 8 students couldn't do it. So that tells you how well they did on the rest of the exam. So we've got a figure. We've got 50, 100, 50, 100. So for a,
It's 100, 200.
oh, is it 100, 200? Pardon me. 100, 200, 100, 200. Thank you. So when you're approaching a problem of this type, there's like a certain amount of like preparation work that you can do to be able to answer the question faster and more easily, right? So in this case, we have what is essentially a 5-point star where I didn't want to do the trig to find out where the corners should actually be on a 5-point star. That's why it looks like this, right? So although these points should be like, you should be able to get them fairly obviously from where they lie on the axis, you know, on the figure. A very good pre-step that you can do is you can take all of the points, every point in the figure, and label them with their coordinate positions, right? So this one is actually at 100, 0, right? You're doing the mental work of x-axis, y-axis, you know, sorting out the axes before you start doing the path, right? This one is at, let's see, 200, 100, 200, 100. This one is at 200, 200. This one is at 0, 200. This one is at 0, 100. Right? Label the points. So, what's our first path command?
N.
Where are we ming to?
100, 0.
100, 0. Now you see how, because I've pre-labeled that coordinate at that point with its coordinate, all I have to do is just read the coordinate in. I don't have to think about x, y distinctions as I'm drawing my path, right? So, what's the next point we're going to? We actually have a choice.
L, 200, 200.
Sure, we can go this way. So basically there are two ways you could do this problem. They're both symmetrical, right? You could go down this arm or you could go down that arm. Either way, both were worth equal marks, obviously. So line 2, 200, 200. Next,
L 0 to 100.
line 2, 0, 100. Next.
100.
Now, this you could do. What else could you do? There's another command you could use.
Is it Z?
No, Z completes the figure.
Okay.
H. H is move horizontally to. So basically, H locks the y coordinate, V locks the x coordinate, right? So either of those are acceptable. What's our next one? We are currently at this point. Where do we go? Line 2, 0, 200, and then Z. Or if you wanted to line to it, and that's 100, 0, you can also do that. So that's the path. Very good. Now, as an exercise, and I just want to make a very slight point, right? If you hadn't pre-labeled these, right? I should have done that first, but basically, if it's not labeled, then your mental process is okay, I'm moving to, okay, let's see, coordinates are 100 and 0. Okay, now I'm line 2, okay, coordinates are 200 and 200. It's the human mind likes to perform like tasks in sequence, right? Identifying the coordinates of these points is one type of mental task. Figuring out what the path commands are is a different mental task. If you do both at the same time, then you're doing a lot of task switching, right? So, if you do it both at the same time, you end up switching tasks in this something like 10 or 12 times. Whereas if you do all the coordinates first, then do all the path, you're switching task once, right? So it's much faster and easier to do the prep work and then do the path. Does that make sense? You'll also have a higher probability of getting the answer correct, right? Good. Wonderful, in fact. Any questions about that? No? All right. Question 4. Explain the differences between the following 3 ways of declaring a variable in JavaScript. We've got var, const, and let. Now, I think that we actually did this as part of our review session. So, who remembers our review session?
Var is block level, constant is a variable that will never have its value redeclared or changed. Let is any general purpose variable declaration.
Sure. What's the scoping on let?
It's, yeah,
Or
block
it is block level.
wherever, it's basically block level, wherever it's defined. So
Yeah.
class
What's-
level, function level,
What's the scoping on var?
whatever expression you exist inside of.
Functional level?
Not quite.
Function.
var is
Function
Functional
level?
level.
var is function level. Yeah. So var binds to a slightly larger scope than let. Yeah. Good. Good summary. I will say it again a little bit louder for the camera. So when you have something declared let, you are binding at block level. When you are declaring something var, it's binding at the function level. And a const is you are removing write privileges, right? You're no longer allowed to modify the variable after its initialization. Does anybody know what scoping level const uses? Yes, the same as let. Good. Very good. Wonderful. Any questions so far? Do you want to have the? I still owe you guys a 15-minute break. Do you want to do that before we get into coding questions? We're kind of at a a barrier between two sections. It would be a logical place to take a break. Okay. Well, in that case, please take the next 15 minutes for a break. Please be prepared to resume class at 10:30. Thank you very much. So, in short, don't worry about the exam. Honestly, like, the consequences of failure at this point aren't even too steep. Like, you repeat a course, you know? The consequences for failure in your work life are much greater. So, you know, you're still kind of in the phase of your life where failure is a thing that you can do that's, you know, quasi-acceptable, although you're kind of being transitioned out of that way of thinking. So, don't worry about the exam. Please, don't lose sleep over it. So I'd like to at this point show off and showcase some of the nice submissions that I got for assignment 4. If you're not in this group and you'd still like me to show your work off to everybody, then please just let me know and I'm happy to do so. These are kind of the projects that kind of stood apart from the pack for me personally. So, you know, it's my subjective impression. But then again, my subjective impression also determines your grades. So. I'm employed in this because there is some value placed on my subjective impressions by the institution. So, I need to access the server. I don't want you seeing what the thing is. Password is. Yeah. Okay. And here is the first one. Pretty good, right? It's got music too. Oh. That's interesting. Oh, I have to. The sound system doesn't turn on unless the cabinet door is open for some reason. And perhaps even then. Let's see here. Well, anyway, there's some like sound effects. It goes bleep and bloop and stuff. So this is an interesting one. So basically, I know, it kind of reminds me of an old game called Jazzball, which is an old like Windows 95 game. But you have this ball, you control it back and forth. The objective of the game is to destroy all of the blocks of the color that you have there, and don't touch the ones with the scary looking skull guy. There you, oop, like I did. Oops. There we go. So there you go. But see, I've actually already messed it up because the light blue blocks you can only destroy without having touched a color. So, but yeah, pretty good, right? The collision's a little janky, but you know, kind of reminds me of games from the like DOS, the MS-DOS era. You know? Let's see here, I need the blue. There are 2 levels as well. I just want to beat this one and show you the second level. Blue. Now you can destroy the diamond blocks. There we go. And there you go, level 2. So you can see that this thing has like some interesting puzzle elements to it, because like you see like these death blocks. If you get like the blue key or the green key, literally the only thing you can do is go kill yourself, right? But you have to also realize that the only thing you can do is kill yourself. So you have to kind of be careful to destroy all the light blue blocks around the dark blue key without touching the dark blue key, right? Like that. Then you can become blue, but don't touch the skull. Now you can do green. Don't touch the skull. Oh man. See? Tricky. Ah! It's tricky. It's good. That's a good game. In, you know, back in the 90s, you would have paid money for a game like that. On a Game Boy or something, right? This game from that era just popped into my head. This bears a little bit of similarity to like one of those I.O. games where you're trying to take territory. Because like as long as the figure isn't complete, then you can you can get hit by this thing, which is essentially random, you know. And the idea is to kind of box it in and take the territory. And like you've got things trying to chase you as well. And you can only travel along the lines that you've already made. Anyway, this is a good game too, but it kind of reminds me of that kind of era, you know? Good. All right, next game. There we go. So this one is very good. gets quite difficult, much harder than I can, yeah, there you go. But, yeah, pretty impressive, kind of a Contra feeling kind of thing. You didn't put the Konami code in though, did you?
No, right under the header at the top, it actually says "Don't tell Konami."
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. I mean, can you really they probably didn't even invent lay down and shoot as a mechanic, you know? But yeah, that one was really good. You spent an ungodly amount of time on it, right?
Yeah, even the code itself was mostly mechanics. Was a lot of work. I think it was 1,500 lines. It was listed in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's awesome. Good work. I guess I don't have level 2 to show, so
It's mostly a tech demo for the mechanics.
yeah. I mean, it does its job really well, you know. Next is there we go. So this one, it's a little bit, it's not as flashy as the other ones, but, ooh, it's got some interesting, okay, I'm gonna reload. It's interesting to me because, you can kind of tell from a few things on this, that this breakout, oh man, this breakout clone was actually made from our in-class code, right? Which is interesting. It was interesting to me because it's a pretty wide divergence from the type of game that I was sort of intending those, that setup to be able to do. I had no conception that someone might take that and make breakout out of it, right? So yeah, I thought that was very good and interesting, you know. The game is, it's got a few bugs and it's kind of not as smooth to play, but I thought it was interesting, how the direction that was taken in. So yeah, there you go. Let's see, what's our next one? Card games. And it's blackjack, which is pretty good. Also, that's just appealing. That just looks nice, right? Somebody used trigonometry. Oh look, it's an actual timer. I didn't realize that, that's cool. You're just kind of playing that blackjack. It's a tie. What do you think, guys? Should I hit or stand? What do you think, guys? Should I hit or stand? Eh?
Hit.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think you can. Maybe you can't get more than 5 cards. Oh, that's interesting. I guess that was, well, there you go. I guess that's that might be a baked-in limitation for the code itself. I don't know if there's a rule in blackjack that you can only have 5 cards, but well, I mean, the thing about these card games is there are so many individual regional variants on the rules that like pretty much any way you mutate the rules, you're probably playing according to someone's rule set, you know? But yeah, I thought that was pretty good. The advice I gave, this guy asked me for advice, he's from the other class. The advice this guy he asked me for advice on developing this, and the advice I gave him was, listen, make your life easy, don't worry about generating like the correct number of symbols on each card. Just have a base thing and go from there, you know? So yeah, so he didn't, but you know, that saved him a heck of a lot of work actually. And you know, enough effort was put in other directions. Interestingly, this is the only submission I've ever seen that has done this. This is actually 2 SVGs. Like 2 SVG objects, one for the dealer and one for the player. So, yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting, you know? Everything else is being done with buttons. So yeah, I guess this was thrown in because it's like this kind of low animation, right? Cool. So, good. That was one. Six, 7, 5. Oh, yes. Sure. Shape escape. I don't think the sound is going to work, unfortunately.
That's okay, because it's really corny.
Oh, don't say that.
Well, I wanted it to be corny on purpose.
Yeah. So, what are the controls again?
It's the arrows.
Ah, there we go. So yeah, it's like just kind of avoid these guys, and collecting apples increases your speed. Now you probably did all these shapes out in like you designed all these SVGs probably in bare SVG, right?
Yeah. And I had a bunch of functions to like create them in like loops and modify the sizes depending on the score and the difficulty level.
Mm-hmm. So if I play this long enough, the shapes get absolutely huge.
Only in hard mode, and I think the highest score was like 6,000 that I got to, and it was, but because of the bugs, you can like find ways to make it easy.
So it's a game with some cheese then.
Yeah.
Were you like intentionally mimicking the style of Geometry Wars?
Yeah, I had it in my comment, but I guess you missed it because your comment was, "This reminds me of Geometry Wars," even though in my index I said I was inspired by Geometry Wars. So
yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Geometry Wars is amazing, and that's when I learned how quickly you can make a browser crash if you create too many shapes with SVG.
So this is a game called Geometry Wars, which is a good game, very funkadelic.
And the sounds and everything is so stimulating when you play it. So yeah, I'm definitely inspired by that.
Yeah. So my, I personally just like, I can't do twin stick shooters. There's something about my brain I just can't do. But I appreciate people who can, but I can't. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Very good. Now this one, I've thought long and hard about who gets first prize. And I think it's gotta be this one. So this is like an actual honest to goodness tower defense game. You can generate new tracks using a procedural algorithm. Let's do medium mode. And you click squares to highlight them, and you can purchase guns if you have enough money. I forget the controls. There you go. Click and purchase. Start. But interestingly, if you right click on these things, you can upgrade them, and you can see how their range goes up. But yeah, it's like it's good. It's good and it's very highly functional. You know? I played it through on, I think, medium to about the whatever I don't know that there was an end of the game program, but my threshold for end of the game was I put a level 9 turret in every square, which I think if you've done that, you've won. If you have maxed out upgrades, then I think you've probably finished the game, right? But yeah, and then you can start multiple waves at once, and it's like, oh no, oh no. It's got drama, it's got tension, you know. Upgrade. I'm losing. I lost. But yeah, I think this one takes first prize. I guess I should have saved it for last, but oh well. Asteroids. Whoop. Yeah. So one thing that kind of, there you go. One thing that kind of throws me off about this one is like the movement, like the WASD movement is relative to the position of the mouse, which is like, there you go. You know, it's quite frantic. Yeah, it's good. A lot of math went into that one, right? Yeah. Would you like to talk about the math a little bit?
Not really.
Not really? Do you mind if I talk about the math a little bit?
Go ahead.
All right. So like, the question is like, how do you get, you know, given a point on the screen, you know, and given the point at which you are, how do you draw that triangle such that it's pointing at it, right? So basically, you know that thing I was talking about having to work in polar coordinates, right? That actually is like something that you do, right? It's like you calculate what this angle is, right? And you add that, you kind of have these as coordinates in a polar frame of reference, right? And then you add this angle to their known angles, and that gives you the rotation. You convert that back into Cartesian coordinates, and then you can actually calculate what the positions of those points of the triangle are supposed to be, which is, you know, math. So, good math. Good math on that one. Line 7.
Remember the zeros.
Yes, this is zeros. There we go. So this one is, I guess you could say it's like a Super Meat Boy thing. You get a wall jump, which is kind of why I'm calling it a Super Meat Boy-esque kind of thing. Oh ho! That's the first time I've ever done that. Let's see if I can keep the streak going. Nope. It's got checkpoints, which I appreciate. The blue blocks kind of blast you backwards. But yeah, it's like, as you can tell, this is kind of, you know, it's quite, it's, you know, it's the example we did in class, but with a lot more added and thrown in, right? It's been fleshed out. Yeah. 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 Oh, come on.
Try to like tap A really fast.
Oh, that's interesting. So like the way you've done it is like if you die in this zone, you go back up.
Yes.
Yeah. So like you can bounce yourself past a previous checkpoint. That's funny. Thank you very much for the warp points, by the way. Boop. There we go. There we go. Oh. Come on. There we go. Oh. Yeah, there we go. Oh no. No, no. There we go. Ah! What's interesting though is like you keep your momentum when you die, so you can kind of cheese it a little bit that way.
You could skip to the far, like the end.
Yeah, well, like because you keep your momentum when you die, I blasted myself up here, kept the momentum, and then used it to jump up here, die, go back to the warp point. There we go. Oh no. Oh man. No. Oh yeah. You get an air jump. There we go. There we go. Ah. Yep. There we go. Hop. And hop. And hop. Hop. Get up. and I win. There we go. I beat it! I beat it! There we go. So that one was good, I like that one. And now, last but certainly not least, is this? Yeah, this is the last one. There we go. So this is another one that's kind of pretty obviously it's the level thing that we did in class. Completely different take on it though, because it's kind of like a sneaky around stealthy kind of game, where you get a gun and you can shoot blocks. All it really needs is the ability to shoot the guards, you know? Ammo. So one interesting thing about this one, which I didn't see anybody else do, was pickups. This is the only game that I had that I got as a submission that did pickups, which I was impressed. There we go. So what's the difference with hard?
So with easy, you have pretty much all the ammo you'll ever need. With hard, you need to grab every single pickup to make it through the game.
Ah, there you go.
So you have you skip that entire bottom area.
Mm.
You would need to go through that area. It also increases your movement speed. The laser blasts quicker.
Gotcha. Oh, that was, oops, yeah.
It also changes scores, like what you can get.
Cool. I like the overlay too. That was nice. Yeah, so those were the submissions. If anybody wants me to show off theirs, then if yours didn't appear, it doesn't mean you had a bad submission. It just means that these are the ones that kind of stood out to me. So, shall we unfortunately get back to some review questions? Question?
Did you ever get to that one room there on hard difficulty?
No.
Up one.
This one?
Yeah.
No. Honestly,
It's not so bad.
I kind of like when I was playing it. It was kind of like, okay, does hard difficulty modify it? Yeah. Okay. I didn't actually play too hard.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. It was kind of like some of these games, like I could kind of like the assignment had been graded within like 2 or 3 seconds of me opening the page, if that makes sense. And then the rest of it was just me playing the game. Yeah. So, good. Question?
What's your opinion on us sharing the code of this game with each other? In what context? I'm always interested to see how people do mechanics work.
Oh, yeah.
That's what your game dev club is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like kind of what the forum of the Game Dev Club is supposed to be for, to an extent. Also playtesting. If you want a bunch of random people to play your game to tell you what they like and don't like about it, that's also what the Game Dev Club is for. Many of these projects, I would say, like another thing you guys should be thinking about is portfolio projects, right? Normally, I don't recommend like putting like school assignments up as your portfolio. It's like, you know, an employer can sniff a school assignment a mile off, right? But something like this, for example, game projects have a certain amount of visual flash, which will, you know, impress normies, right? Because you're trying to also impress normies when you get a job. You have to get past HR, right? Not that HR is going to be looking through your portfolio necessarily, but yeah, like something like that. Like if you did one and you feel, oh, I could just polish this up a bit, you know, you have some opportunity to polish your submission up after this course is finished, right? If you want to keep working on it. I wouldn't like recommend making any of these 10-year projects, right? You know, as portfolio projects for a web developer go, it's a pretty good one. If you put this level of effort into this assignment, kind of the intention of the assignment is that you should get a portfolio project out of it again. Make sense?
At this level, we cannot put like the person that designed this cannot put it in his portfolio, and he should like work more.
I recommend putting this in the portfolio. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, portfolio. Boom. Some of them like maybe you want to like polish up one or two things about them, but you know some of them it's like, oh, like you remember that one I showed you guys with the 3D stuff? Like that is fit for purpose. Just throw that in, you know. Something like this, like from my personal subjective standpoint, this one feels complete, you know. It's got the mechanics down, it's got the goal down, it's got everything, you know. I'm only talking about this one because it's on screen. You know, if it's full and complete and fully realized, then throw it in for a portfolio. One thing that like I know I would be impressed by if I was an employer looking through these things, like to indicate quality of employee, which before hiring, one of the things I would be looking for is like, okay, you started a project, but did you finish it? Right? Anybody can start coding projects. We as programmers are kind of notorious for having started 1 million projects and finishing exactly 0 of them, right? Don't show me a half-finished project, show me a finished product, right? So that's, you know, the games here that like look and feel finished, those are the ones that I would say, well, if they're finished, you probably don't have to do anything more to them, right? And like it's kind of like you can get caught in a trap as well, because like I'm sure with this one there's like 10 more features you would add if you had time, right? Like patrolling enemies would be like probably an idea that you had at one point, right? Does it need it? No. You know. The other thing is like understand the scope of what you've done, you know? Like anything more serious and you should be doing this in a more serious medium, right? I mean, in order to do patrol routes, you also have to like read up on raycasting physics. Yeah, which is probably what prevented you, right? Yeah. But, you know, that's okay. So, again, if anybody wants to come to the Game Dev Club and, you know, talk about raycasting physics and how that works, we can do that. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. All right. Good grief. Shall we continue with our review questions? Yeah. All right. So, coding question. Write a CSS animation which has the following characteristics. Then write a CSS rule which applies the animation to all button elements on the page when they are hovered over. The button's background flashes, transitions from a darker color to a lighter color of your choice. The button's corners become rounded and go back to being sharp. And this animation should play twice and should play for 1 second in total. So why don't you guys take a couple of minutes and hack out a solution to that, and then we'll take it up. And for the assignment 4, if you're wondering, like everyone that I showed you is an honorable mention, but if you wanted to know like what I thought like number 2 and number 3 were, number 1 was the tower defense game. I think I'd have to give number 2 to the Contra one, and I'd have to give number 3 to the first one we saw with the ball bouncing puzzles. That one was also really good. So there were no bad submissions that we showed, right? But yeah, it's always hard. I love it when it's hard to pick who did best, you know.
And what the work I put in was something a person wouldn't see by playing the game.
Yeah, but like the thing about it is like it like feels good to play,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
if we are not a game person,
Mm-hmm.
like we cannot have a good design for a game. Like
Yeah. Well,
honestly, for me, I didn't know what I have to do. It's like,
yeah.
okay, the
Well,
simple one I have to.
And that's fine too.
Yeah,
It's-
those are really good, honestly. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you know, to you know, you wouldn't you would expect someone who was able to like, you know, copy a Rembrandt to have studied painting, right? Like video games are an art form, you know.
So I don't know that.
Mm.
I did the assumption. Should I write something for F2?
No.
I got the way too.
Just for this one.
Yes. Okay. Shall we take that one up then? Everybody cool with the CSS animation? Shall we take it up?
Yeah.
So this kind of occurs in 2 parts. Keyframes, animate. Now, unfortunately, there's a bit of an ambiguity in the question. Yes?
To specify like the duration and the number of times it goes, don't you do like on the actual ID of the button itself? You have to
Yeah. In the CSS rule that links the animation to the button.
Yeah.
That's where that information goes.
So we don't do that for this question.
We do. the question asked you for both the CSS rule linking the animation and the animation itself. So something like
From or to.
right? Well, from and to, the problem with that is that you don't get a smooth transition when you go back from,
Yeah.
right? So at the very least, the second point says the corners become rounded and then go back to being sharp, right? So we know that one of those will be border radius from 0 pixels to, you know, like 10 pixels, then back to 0 pixels, right? It's a little bit like, when I wrote the question, my intention was that the flashing behavior should do the same. Background color goes from, what is it, blue to light blue or something?
Yeah, darker to lighter.
Yes, darker color to a lighter color, yeah, so blue, light, blue, blue. My intention when I wrote the question was that this would be included, but that's not stated in the question. So when, you know, there's a mismatch between what I think the question says and what the question actually says, I rule in favor of the question because that's fair. So this could, but I typically also like allow the solution in my brain to be correct. So they're both worth marks. Yes?
Are we allowed to use animation shorthand?
Animation shorthand?
Yeah, so you know you do like animation iterations and then like amount.
Oh.
Instead of just do animation and then.
You're allowed, but you gotta get it right.
Okay.
I think those are semicolons. Semicolons here, I think, maybe? Anyway. So, yes. Now we link the animation to the object. So, all button objects on hover. I'm going to do it out in like each property though, because this is on the board example. So animation dash name is anim dash iteration count. I might be misspelling some of these. How many times are we iterating? 2. That's right. Duration?
1 second.
1 second in total over 2 iterations. So each iteration is
Okay.
500 milliseconds.
0.5.
0.5. Math. Is that everything? I think that's everything.
And can you say animation equal anim, and then 0.5 second, and then 2.
Yes, if you want to collapse it all into one, that's also fine. For my purposes on the board, though, I'm going to do each one out because that's more clear. Yeah, you can use the collapsed notation if you want to. Any questions? Yes.
On the test, will the animation, I'm assuming you have to do one, will it be a little more complicated than that, or would it be kind of like modifying 2 values of something?
I won't answer that question directly. I will say, though, that this question was an actual test question that was rejected because I had too much CSS on the exam last semester. So this question is actually representative of like the scale of a question of this type. Shall we move on? So, write 3 JavaScript functions, left mult, right mult, and choose op. Left mult accepts 3 numbers and performs left multiplication using the given formula. Right multiplication accepts 3 numbers and performs right multiplication using the following formula. Choose op returns a function as its return value. If A is greater than B, it returns left mult, otherwise it returns right mult. So, I will say, though, of the JavaScript programming problems here, I've got 2 short coding questions, but no long coding questions. So, like, I reserve the right on the exam to ask you coding questions that are longer than these. Yes?
Yeah, like I noticed in the JavaScript module, there's some practice exercises, and when you scroll down to it, there's like challenging ones. Those ones were like 5 times harder than these questions. So I feel like these ones are almost like suspiciously light.
Yeah. You remember me saying that, like, I don't have to try that hard to fail people, right? If you've been coming to class, the question topics shouldn't be a mystery. What you're being tested on should not be a mystery. And I don't have to make an exam question that complicated to have a decent percentage of the class fail it, right? Yeah, like, no, the questions probably aren't as long as you think they're going to be. Like, it's, can I share something personal with you?
Sure.
I absolutely hate those Java questions where it's like, here's a UML diagram with 5 classes on it, do the whole thing. That's an exam question. That's not an exam question, that's an essay. You're being asked to write an essay. You know? Clarity, brevity, wit. If you're testing a student on something, test them on thing, right? You'll notice that this question has a point. Can anybody tell me what the point of this question is?
Basically the operator, like the prior.
Parentheses?
Yeah, like the priority of the operation. Like,
Yeah. Operator priority.
Yeah.
Operator priority is 1, right?
And
But-
up parentheses also, so.
Yes, but there's another one that's kind of the main point of the question.
Parameters in the functions.
Parameters in functions? What do you mean?
No, calling function inside the function.
Not calling the function inside the function. Returning a function as the return value of a function.
Yeah.
That's the point of this question, right? So let's do the question. It's kind of funny. You can, I'll do like the standard solution, and then I'll show you how short the compact solution is. So when you're writing an exam from me, one thing to watch out for, one thing to keep in the back of your mind is, why am I being asked this question? What is the point of this question? All of the questions have a point, right? I'm trying to test your understanding of something, right? What is the thing I'm trying to test your understanding of? So, function right mult x, y, z, return. I thought that the operator priority is actually quite easy because all you have to do is kind of copy this, right?
For the first function, it doesn't need, because in JavaScript we are coming from left to right, so it doesn't need to include parentheses.
True.
I guess.
Yes, but I wasn't gonna deduct marks either way,
Okay.
because it's still true that if it works, right? And I got it wrong, that's left mult actually, right mult is the second one. I want to make a pun about double malt whiskey or something. Which everybody will want after the exam. Right. Hopefully that's not controversial. And then it's function choose op A, B. If, I think it's A is greater than B,
Yes.
return left malt, I think. Else, return right malt. The whole point of this question is whether you put parentheses here or not.
If you use return, I think you don't need, but if you, because without return you have to use parentheses. No? I saw it in my
So if we
phone.
did put the parentheses there,
Then we
At
put
least a
parentheses.
full mark deduction on a 3-point question.
Because it's a 4-mark.
It's a four mark. Probably, like, there's a mark for this, maybe a mark for both of these, because they're very, very similar. Yeah, it's a substantial deduction. It's like the difference between an A and a C or a B on the question, right? Maybe I would fail you outright. No, I don't think I'd fail you outright for that, but the parentheses are very important, right? The whole point of this question is, do you include those parentheses or not, right? Can anybody tell me what the difference is between including parentheses and not including parentheses?
Then
If you include parentheses, you have to fill out parameters, or you have to adhere to the parameters that are specified in the function?
Well, yes. Well, actually in JavaScript, no, because if you don't supply the arguments, you'll get undefined for everything, right?
would you be calling the function
like
with no
immediately
parameters?
run the function.
Yes, it would, exactly. So if you provide parentheses here, you are calling the function. Calling the function, if you provide like no parameters, you get undefined, undefined, undefined. That gets calculated, I think, as nan. So this returns nan, not a number. But if you read the description, we were supposed to be returning a function reference, a reference to a function, right? This is a reference to the function. If you leave out the parentheses, it's a function reference and not a function call. And that is an important thing to know in JavaScript, because when we create a event, what do we supply? The type of event, and when we create an event, what do we
Function.
supply?
Functions.
Not just a function,
Callback function.
a function reference,
Oh.
right? When we create an anonymous function, the anonymous function is a function reference where you put it. But if you recall, we can take functions that exist elsewhere and make them the callback functions of events by supplying the name. But the thing that, like the common error people make there, is to include parentheses when they do that, which calls the function before the event is set and sets the event to the return result of the function, which is often a value and not even a function. So, the whole point of this question is those parentheses because they're important.
So because the wording is if A is greater than B, it returns left mult. It returns a reference to the left mult function.
Yes.
Okay.
it returns left mult, otherwise it returns right mult.
So if it said-
Functions, because left mult and right mult are functions.
So if it said it returns left mult's result, then it would be, then you have the parentheses?
Precisely, yes. Yeah, it's the difference between the output of the function and the function itself. Good. You want to see the compact version?
Yeah.
Using lambdas and a ternary operator. Next question? Question?
The first left multiplication doesn't have the brackets around x and y. Do you need the brackets at all?
Because things are evaluated left to right, you don't need them, as you pointed out earlier. However, it costs you nothing but 2 characters to include them. So, question 3. Write a JavaScript function, apply and sum, which takes 2 arguments, a function f and a list L. This function applies the function f to each element of L and sums the return results of all function calls. The return value of apply and sum is the sum of all of the return values resulting from applying the function f to each element of the list L. I said the same thing twice there in 2 different ways. Sometimes I do that because sometimes people won't get it one way, but they'll get it the other way, you know. Use of the for each method is forbidden. So why don't you guys take a minute or 2 to chew on that one, and then we'll take it up.
Oh, Nick, it was funny when you said, I hope that wasn't too controversial because literally our next teacher swears like a sailor and every other word is an F-bomb.
Oh wow.
Our math instructor and it's you're not controversial, not nearly as controversial as him.
Okay. Why? What was the point of controversy? I forget.
Because I remember you said something I was gonna make a joke about double malt whiskey.
Oh yeah.
So, double malt,
Yeah.
can you make me Japanese again? And you're like, that's not too controversial.
I was actually going to follow that up with saying something it's actually probably an appropriate thing if you go out drinking with your friends after an exam, just after the exam.
I hear
Yeah.
the new generation of people don't drink that much.
This is what I hear too.
Which I think is smart.
Well, everything in moderation, including moderation, right? there are, things always kind of swing back and forth, right? Like when I was in university, like the big moral panic was about, teenagers and young adults boozing it up, right? So it makes sense that the next generation swings the other way, right? But, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Like, it is an appropriate and a healthy thing, in my view, to want to blow off steam. Maybe wait until all your exams are done, but it's entirely an appropriate thing to want to go, blow off some steam after these exams. That's healthy, actually, I'd say. Yeah, I don't know. It just, a pun occurred to me, so. So shall we do this one then?
Yeah.
So this is a slight adaptation of a very common type of operation called a map operation. The reason that for each is forbidden in this question is because for each is essentially a map function, and it trivializes it because you can accomplish the whole thing in like one line almost. So let's write a function. Function f list L. So, yes.
So in this, just going back to the last question, would function in the parentheses there be an example or an implementation of like a function callback or a function reference?
If I were to put parentheses here,
No, for it being in the parentheses, like it being a parameter of the function, would that perhaps be like a function reference?
yes, that is also, you can kind of tell that these two questions were kind of like part A and B of a larger question, right? So like the point of this question is, does it break your brain that one of your variables is a function, right? Do you know how to work with that, right? So, so this one is a function. Very similarly, like this is like you don't see this as much, but like a lot of the time when you're supplying something like an arrow function, this is what the other half of that is doing, right? So because if you call apply msum, provide an arrow function here, that arrow function gets bound to f, and then it gets used inside the body, right? So we want to do two things. We want to take a sum of everything in the list, and we want to apply the function. So taking sums, I hope that's something that you guys are, hopefully we're drilled sufficiently on this in Intro Python, although
It's definitely different with the use of AI.
come on though, you guys must have written a summing.
Oh, we did, but
Yeah.
kind of only feels like only semester 2 is when we actually learn to program.
Also with while loops, so you didn't like for loops.
Why not?
Maybe it was just you didn't want to complicate it, wanted everybody to focus on one type of loop.
You did a lot of
Yeah, so for a lot of us, it feels like only
I
this
think
semester.
I think the entire course didn't only briefly touch on for loops the entire time.
I assume
What did I have?
assume it's for maybe comfortable and not overload them.
So a thing that you have to understand about Professor Adams is that he actually does have more formal mathematical training than, than average for the department, I would say. He and I kind of originate in the same faculty at McMaster, Kevin Brown, again, is kind of in this category. We're kind of like, you know, we're the Mac crew within the department. But the thing that's in the back, I can tell you what the thing in the back of his mind is, and that is, I should be teaching the minimal viable subset of this language, right? You can do everything you need to do with a while loop, right? And in a course where the whole point of it is to introduce you to programming in a way that doesn't overcomplicate programming for the purposes of introduction, that's probably why for loops are shied away from. Now, the other thing is, like, the for loop in Python is a very different animal than the for loop in Java, right? The for loop in Python is actually a for each loop, right? So it doesn't really get exercised until you're working with data structures anyways. So Python itself also has an inherent bias towards while loops over for loops when all you're doing is, like, you know, basic loop stuff. Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway, so back to this. So I is less than L dot length da 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 I plus plus do 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 do. So it's a sum. So we have to sum plus equals something, right? Now we want to apply the function to the element of the list and add it to the sum. So you apply the function to the element of the list and add it to the sum. Right? Close your loop off, return the sum. Bob's your uncle. Yes?
So does it assume then that the function s only has one parameter?
No, not in JavaScript.
I think you mentioned before, if it has more than one, the other parameter is supposed to be null for the purposes.
Undefined. Null is actually a different void literal. So yes, no, a secondary or perhaps tertiary goal of this class is to instill in you a hatred for JavaScript. Am I doing a good job? Yeah. Yeah. So no, it is not guaranteed that this function only receives one parameter, right? Basically, the way, like, the glue that holds everything together in JavaScript and keeps everything from falling apart is your mutual agreement with yourself that you will use your functions the way you want them to be used. That's what holds everything together. It's not type checked. There's no checking going on. If you mess it up and make an error, it just borks. It just destroys. It destroys itself. That's what JavaScript does. If you want guarantees about that sort of thing, you should be using TypeScript. I almost feel like ending the class on the word TypeScript. You know, that would be, like, very apropos. Let's see, how much time do we have left in class? Ah! There we go. I will end the class with one word. TypeScript. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the exam. Question?
So kind of going back to parameters,
Sure.
last question. If, say, like, you declare a function with parameters like x, y, and z, they're all integers, and you do like math with them. If you then pass like a string or like a character value into it, would it then break, or would it just not do anything with that value?
That's a very, if you guys have like 1 or 2 minutes more, that's actually a very interesting question. Steve didn't do this with you in the first half? All right. I mean, I can, do you mind if I do it in the actual JavaScript interpreter? Sorry folks, this, you may want, like, you can go if you like, but you may want to stick around for this. This should further instill your hatred of JavaScript. Alright, so I have a function, add 3, alright, x plus y plus z, right? Yes, good, thank you. Add 3 of, just to prove it works, 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. You noticed I was getting not a number, right? Because 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus undefined is not a number, right? But what if I put in potato?
Oh.
Yeah, plus means concatenate on string, and it also means coerce the other operand into a string before you do so. So yeah, no, there is no assurance of types. There is no guarantee of safety. Use TypeScript. Use TypeScript. Any other questions before we break? Good luck on your exams.
How hard will be the exam? Like, these questions are like honestly like to me they're easy. Like test. But
Let's just say some of the coding questions. The coding questions will probably be chunkier than that, right? Those I consider those to be short coding questions, but the coding questions are not longer than 25 lines of code.